We're going to talk about a new reading skill this week called summarizing. Summarizing is when you tell what happened in your own words using details from the beginning, middle, and end of a story. Summarizing is a lot like retelling a story, but there's a few key differences. When you're retelling a story, you're just telling the story again, using the author's words and adding as many details as possible. I always think of retelling a story like if I had a friend out of class and we were catching them up on a story we read while they were gone. If we did that, we'd want to give them as many details as possible. Now, when you're summarizing, you're telling only the most important parts of the story. You're putting that story in your own words, and you're keeping in mind that big idea, what that story mostly is about. When I think of summarizing, I think of when a parent asks me what I read today. I want to tell them what the story was about, but they don't need all the details. They just need to know the big idea and the main ideas in the plot. Both retelling and summarizing only use details from the story. They don't add anything to it. And then they keep the details in the correct order. Those are two really important parts of retelling and summarizing. An easy way to summarize a story is to think of somebody wanted, but so then. We're using SWBST to summarize. So when you're summarizing a story, you want to tell who the main character is, the somebody. You want to say what the character wanted. Then you want to retell and say what problems happened or challenges does the main character face. How does that character try and solve the problem? And then how does the story end? Let's try an example together so you know what I mean. Remember when we read Charlie McButton last week? We're going to summarize that story together. First, we need to think of the somebody. Who was the main character in Charlie McButton Lost Power? That's right, it's Charlie McButton. What did Charlie McButton want? That's right, he wanted to play with his electronics. But then what was the problem? That's right, the problem was the electricity went out. So we have Charlie McButton wanted to play with his electricities, but he didn't have any power. So what did he do? That's right, he stole batteries from his sister and he got in trouble. So then what happened? How did the story end? We have Charlie McButton. He wanted to play with his electronics, but he didn't have any power. So he took the batteries from his sister's doll and got in trouble. And then what happened? That's right. He felt bad, and he ended up finding fun things to do without electronics. And those are the 5 steps. Now, normally we would take this graphic organizer and we would use it and then write a summary kind of like a paragraph. But for now, we'll just talk about it orally. If I was writing a paragraph with this summary, I would say, the story is about Charlie McButton. He wanted to play with his electronics, but there was a storm and no power to do so. He found that there were batteries with his sister's doll, and he took them and got in trouble. Afterwards, he felt terrible for upsetting his sister, and then he found out that there were a lot of fun activities that he could do without power. We'll keep practicing with summarizing this week. But remember, somebody wanted, but so then. That will help you organize your summaries.